Why Mexican mechanics keep dead 1950s trucks running when American engineers can't. Deep in the Sonoran agricultural belt, 70-year-old Chevrolet and Ford trucks are currently hauling 3-ton loads of agave on frames Detroit declared dead 6 decades ago. Over 250,000 of these 1950s workhorses still perform brutal daily labor across Mexico. Meanwhile, America's $80,000 modern diesels are snapping hydroformed frames under camper loads or shredding Bosch CP4 fuel pumps at 80,000 miles, creating $10,000 repair bills over microscopic metal shavings. How do Mexican mechanics keep these abandoned Stovebolt engines alive with zero factory support? By weaponizing a forgotten engineering loophole, an ultra-low 7.5:1 compression ratio that survives on garbage-grade fuel, and heavy cast iron blocks thick enough to rebuild indefinitely. This survival ecosystem exposes exactly what modern engineering deliberately stole from the working class. Hit like, drop a comment on When Detroit Lost Its Soul, and let us uncover the 1962 law that trapped these machines in time. Most Americans falsely believe these old trucks ended up south of the border simply because of cheap exports or a dry climate. That is a complete myth. The reality is an economic prison constructed in 1962. That year, the Mexican government passed the Decreto Automotriz, a strict protectionist law mandating that all vehicles require a massive 60% domestically manufactured parts quota. Almost overnight, importing Detroit's forged steel crankshafts factory bearings, or OEM crate engines, became financially impossible for the working class. The supply chain was not just delayed, it was entirely severed. If a rancher's 1954 F-100 snapped a connecting rod in the blistering Sonoran desert, there was no dealership loaner waiting in town. Without that truck moving, the harvest simply rotted in the fields. Without the harvest, the entire town starved. It was a literal civilization-level threat. Because they were permanently stripped of corporate safety nets, a massive undocumented mechanical evolution occurred. Village mechanics were forced to look at a seized cast iron block not as scrap metal, but as a blank canvas. They discovered a critical legal and mechanical loophole. The 1962 decree stopped the flow of new parts, but it could not regulate the thick, over-engineered iron already trapped inside the country. They realized Detroit had cast these mid-century blocks so excessively thick that a single cylinder could be rebored 3, sometimes 4 times. Out of sheer brutal desperation, they forged an underground survival culture, forcing this abandoned American steel to run indefinitely. To survive without a factory supply chain, Mexican mechanics did not look for better parts, they hunted for mechanical loopholes. They found them in 2 specific pieces of heavy iron: the excessively thick cast Chevy 235 Stovebolt inline 6, and later the Cummins 4BT diesel paired with the legendary Bosch P7100 inline injection pump. These became the ultimate survival swaps to keep decaying 1950s chassis pulling heavy freight. Why these specific systems? Because Detroit and industrial engineers inadvertently designed them with a fatal flaw for modern corporate economics. They were purely, unapologetically mechanical. Unlike a modern 2024 Ford Power Stroke, which nervously monitors fuel pressure via complex ECMs and will vaporize a microscopic piezo injector the second a drop of water hits the fuel line, the P-pump on these Cummins swaps is entirely gear-driven and lubricated by internal engine oil. Its mechanical injectors forcefully punch through contaminated garbage-grade rural diesel that would instantly detonate a modern engine. But here is the ultimate act of mechanical defiance. The P-pump requires absolutely zero electricity to operate. You can rip the entire electrical wiring harness out of the firewall, smash the battery to pieces with a sledgehammer, and if you can just bump start that transmission on a downhill dirt grade, The engine will fire up and run flawlessly until the fuel tank is bone dry. Combine that with 1950s Stovebolt blocks poured with so much excess cast iron that mechanics could manually bore out the cylinder walls 3 or 4 times over a lifespan. By overbuilding these blocks and relying on primitive gear-driven vanes, mid-century engineers accidentally handed the working class a permanent loophole for mechanical immortality. Forget the sterile, climate-controlled garages of American restoration shows. If you crawl under a working truck in the dust of Sinaloa, you are not looking at a classic car, you are looking at a mechanical crime scene. Watch the steel frame of a battered 1954 Chevy 3100 violently twist as it drags 4 tons of wet agave out of a rutted ditch. What keeps this machine moving is not factory engineering. It is a raw, ugly, and physically unstoppable mutation. Eventually, under that kind of daily abuse, the factory rear differential explodes. In a modern American dealership, that is a $4,000 mandate for a complete rear-end replacement. In a dirt floor shop in rural Mexico, they just drop the axle in the dust. With zero access to OEM/GM parts, a mechanic will pull a heavy-duty ring and pinion gear from a salvaged 1970s John Deere tractor. The metallurgy is incredibly dense, but the spline count and diameter do not match the Chevy. The mechanical trick? They weld the gear teeth to add material, and then they hand-grind the gear mesh with a Makita angle grinder. They manually set the backlash and pinion depth by ear and feel, completely bypassing the microscopic computer-guided CNC tolerances that modern engineers claim are absolutely mandatory. And that crude hand-ground tractor gear will survive another decade of heavy abuse inside an American axle housing. This tactile, dirty survival engineering infects every component on the chassis. Clutches are not purchased, they are rebuilt. Mechanics drill out the backing plates and rivet industrial friction material scavenged from heavy factory machinery using oversized brass rivets. When a radiator blows out in the field, they bypass the factory core silver soldering copper agricultural irrigation tubing directly into the tanks. When overloaded suspensions sag, they scavenge high-carbon steel from abandoned train carriages, cold forging raw leaf spring packs over open fires. It completely destroys the corporate engineering narrative. Every hand-welded differential and brass-riveted clutch is a 4,000-pound middle finger to the concept of unrepairable. Critics often ask why these mechanics do not just secure financing and upgrade to newer trucks. The answer is simple. They know that modern trucks are a financial trap disguised as innovation. Look at the heart of the engine fuel delivery. A traditional mechanical injection pump can be completely rebuilt on a dirt floor for about $200 using basic hand tools. Now, contrast that with the modern Bosch CP4 high-pressure fuel pump found in the newest American diesels. When a CP4 pump fails, it does not just quietly stop working. It violently self-destructs, sending microscopic metallic shrapnel through the entire fuel system. That single failure triggers a catastrophic $10,000-plus repair bill. And here is the darkest reality: you cannot fix it with a wrench. Even if you scrape together the cash for the proprietary replacement parts, you are digitally locked out. You must have a corporate dealership software subscription to digitally marry the new injectors to the ECU via digital rights management. This is not engineering progress, it is artificial obsolescence. It is a system deliberately designed to financially ruin the owner the second the factory warranty expires. The fundamental relationship between man and machine has been inverted. A 1955 truck asks for tools. A 2025 truck asks for permission. In this underground ecosystem, the machine is kept alive not by data, but by generational memory. A mechanic in rural Sonora does not plug into a diagnostic port to find a misfire. Instead, he diagnoses fuel starvation simply by reading the acrid, stinging scent of the raw diesel exhaust. He closes his eyes and rests a calloused hand flat against the cold steel fender, tuning the mechanical idol entirely by feeling the harmonic vibrations of the crankshaft. This is a sensory intuition he learned by watching his father do the exact same thing in the dirt driveways of the 1970s. This is not just vehicle maintenance, it is an intimate physical partnership between man and iron. This knowledge is not downloaded from a corporate server or locked behind a paywall. It is passed down father to son, born from an era when listening to the machine was the absolute only way a family could survive. Decades ago, America invented this exact rugged DIY culture. We romanticized the backyard fabricator and the unbreakable working-class workhorse. But somewhere along the line, we willingly traded our mechanical independence for heated seats and disposable plastic modules. Out of pure, brutal necessity, Mexico did not just keep our dead trucks alive. They accidentally preserved the gritty hands-on mechanical soul of mid-century America far better than Detroit ever did. If the corporate supply chain collapses tomorrow, you must ask yourself, do you want a truck that demands a monthly subscription just to start, or a wrench and angle grinder and a mechanic who actually understands steel? If you respect the wrench over the laptop, hit that like button, share this video with a real mechanic, and subscribe to help keep this forgotten culture alive.